And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, playing is fun. Playing your instrument, playing a song, a hoot. But practicing sucks because you have to, it's tedious, it's meticulous, it has to be intentional, it's not instant. But once you get something, the dopamine that you get from that, or the satisfaction you get from that, is just so much more, because you're like, yeah, I worked for that. Same thing with coding. You have to work for it. You're going to suck for a long time. If you show up every day, you're going to get better, and you're going to have so much more satisfaction out of this skill that didn't come easy, that wasn't instant, that wasn't built in a day. And you'll see your end product and be like, man, I'm proud of that, and I feel good because of that. So lots of similarities.
Hey nerds, Monica here. Welcome to the Data Podcast for Nerds, where we get to talk to amazing professionals and ask them how they use data to solve the world's problems. We're highlighting some careers and skills available out there for us data professionals that you might not think about. So with us today, we have Mayra Almanza. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on your show.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So we start all of our shows by understanding people's origin stories, because we're all nerds with comic book themes. And so if you could please let us know about your background and how you got to where you are today in your career.
Absolutely. Well, I have a relatively non-traditional background in the sense of tech. So I am a transition teacher. I know that transitioning teacher is a big thing. I taught middle school orchestra for 6 years. So violin, viola, cello, bass, and I loved it. I've always loved music. I've had an affinity for it. And so I decided to major in that, and I started my wonderful career. When the pandemic hit, as fulfilling as teaching can be and is, it's a broken system, right? And the pandemic really highlighted a lot of those issues, especially for me. And it started to impact me in a negative way. And I realized I needed to take a step back and reevaluate what I wanted and what I needed for me personally. And my husband, who also was a music teacher, he taught elementary music, he made the jump first into tech. He said, hey, look at all this cool stuff. And he kind of opened my eyes to the tech world. I mean, I've always known about tech, and I've been tech savvy, especially, with new technology that they bring into the classroom. I was always really good with that. But he was the one that kind of opened my eyes to that. And he made the jump first, and he was doing JavaScript, front-end development, all that kind of jazz, which I wasn't too keen on, but it was cool to see him do that. And once he successfully jumped into the tech industry, he didn't necessarily land as a web developer. He ended up doing technical success type work, which really incorporated his teaching skills, and it was a good fit. And once he did that, it was then my turn to start looking, because that was the plan as we went and through this process. And I started looking to see what I was interested in. And as I said before, the front end stuff didn't really, tickle my fancy, as you would say, right? So I started looking into Python and all of this back end kind of stuff. And we're both self-taught. So I did a boot camp on Udemy. Dr. Yu is her name. I think she has a Python boot camp. She's wonderful, great for learning concepts, and there's sales all the time. So I would 100% recommend her.
Mm-hmm.
Easy to understand. So I did that boot camp. And then from there, I kind of started seeing what the options would be. There's machine learning and data engineering and data science. And I really landed on the data engineering side of it because I just liked data. And so I went to do a SQL boot camp as well on Udemy. And then I just started learning on Data Camp. Data Camp is also awesome. Again, no sponsorships here, just things that I've used. Literally, we love Data Camp. If you're trying to get into the data world, Data Camp has a lot of great content. Their subscription is 100% worth it. So I did that, did a track. And in the whole process, I was posting on LinkedIn and networking, because I was always told that was super big. It's super important to build that network and those connections. And I met some great mentors. I think you actually had Steven on one of your podcasts.
Yes.
Love that guy. Amazing dude. So shout out to
Yes, I agree.
he's a great guy. So he was one of my mentors, or is one of my mentors. And I also met this other gentleman, Barry. Barry is an amazing Python developer. He super smart dude, super helpful, and he's been one of my main points of contact. We just meet once every other week, and we talk about tech stuff, things that I'm working on, maybe things blockers that I'm having, and also just friends. Like we have cool conversations about what we do. He likes to go hiking and walking, and we just talk about fun stuff, right? And he's the one that connected me with my current boss, the CEO of Data Coves, which lovely company. They are a enterprise data ops platform. So great stuff. And he actually connected me with him for another project. Like, hey, I worked with this guy before, and he needed work on this other aspect of the project. And, are you interested? And I said, yeah, sure. Like, let me meet with him. And long story short, that project was not for me. Like, it was not what I was interested in. It was TypeScript and JavaScript, and, it just didn't work out. But after I had that connection with Noel, we saw each other's strengths. Like, he saw what he could get out of me and what I can get out of him. And so mutually we continued the partnership. Like, I could teach you and mentor you in these data practices, and you could create this content for me. And, but it's just, to me, it blows my mind that it all happens from the networking and just being consistent and being kind and compassionate and making friends. And very organically, that connection happened. And it just shows the power of networking is monumental. But that's how I landed where I am now, in a technical data role that's also creative and fun and evolving.
Yeah. You make a really good point about the networking, because that's really how I've gotten all of my previous jobs, is by networking, knowing people, them reaching out saying, hey, there's a new opportunity. Are you interested? Right. So I think that my question to you is, how did you first go about networking to find your mentors?
Well, I first went about networking. Well, I don't even remember who told me that it was super important. I think I was just seeing it. Is it Danny Thompson? I just saw it on LinkedIn. Hey, network in public, or build in public, I'm sorry, is what the term is. So what I started to do is, during my boot camp, with the first one that I did, the Dr. U's 100 days of Python? I don't remember the name. I'm so sorry. Terrible. But I would post what I was learning. So I would say, day 10, I learned blah, blah, blah. Here's a screenshot. And then ask maybe a question. Like, if I had a problem, I would talk about the blockers that I had. I would talk about the things that I learned. I would talk about any achievements that I went and I found this by looking up this. And so that was the main way that I did that. I just continuously and consistently showed up by posting. And it's just, you have to post as if nobody's really reading, because they probably aren't, but they're seeing your name come up over and over again. Mm-hmm. So that was the main way. Just post consistently about what you're working on, what you're building. And from that, and join groups like the Python groups, or if you're doing JavaScript, join the JavaScript groups. And from there, people will see your page. I think that Barry just saw one of my posts, like it came up on his feed, or I posted in one of the groups and it came up on his feed, and he said, hey, hi. I don't know, we just started talking. So that was the way I would go about it.
Great advice. With those groups, you're talking about LinkedIn groups, right?
Yes, LinkedIn groups.
Okay.
I'm sure that there's Slack groups as well. I'm sure it's powerful. I haven't really I just now started using the Slack groups, the Slack workspaces. So, but that's also, or Discord. There's Discord groups as well.
Yes.
But all of my stuff was primarily LinkedIn. I can't honestly say that I went and I posted in all of these different places. But if you want to throw your net wide or cast your net wide, Slack, Discord, Reddit, there's so many places.
So many places. How did you leverage those LinkedIn groups? Because is it just you post to the group and then it kind of gets just posted to that group? Or is there some kind of other way that you could kind of leverage those groups better?
Well, the main way that I leveraged the group was I would read whatever was being posted and I would try to comment if I had any valuable insights or valuable comments. And yeah, that was really the extent that I used it for. I would post and I would comment and try to make those connections. And also I would comment on a lot of people's posts that they would say, hey, like this is social Saturday. Drop your name here if you want to connect with people. And so I would do those as well. Just comment my name, what I did, that I wanted to connect, and I would get requests that way. And I would request people or request the connections with people. Also with LinkedIn, it's super important. I feel like people they underestimate the importance of sending a specialized note to the person when you send the connection request. Hey, I saw XYZ of your content, absolutely loved it, inspired me in XYZ way, hope to connect. And that really ups your connection request success rate because a lot of people will be like, who is this person? And they won't accept you, which is fine.
Right. I know I've been part of some LinkedIn groups where we try to set up like local meetups or happy hours, right? But I kind of feel like LinkedIn groups aren't really structured in a way that you can leverage it. So the Discord, the Slack, those might be a better way if you wanted to kind of gather something together.
Yeah. And usually they'll have, moderators who will then invite you to the Slack channels that are a little bit more oriented towards specific areas. I know the Women Who Code group, they invited me to the Slack channel, and there's area-specific groups that you can then meet up with, and it's very well organized. But some of the LinkedIn pages are just, to post and to get information and to like and just network, but not as intensely. So it just depends on what you want to do and how you want to go about it.
Exactly. So moral of the story, network, and you will have better success to get some work out there.
Yes. And it might not be the work that you first thought you were going to do. Like I didn't expect the type of work that I was doing now, or that I am doing now, or the opportunity that I'm in now. I had no idea. It's important not to close yourself off to, I want to be a data engineer, or I want to be, a programmer. Be open to the opportunities and the skills. So if something interests you in that role, I would say explore it and see, because in that role, you're going to find out what you like, what you don't like, what you love, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you want to get better at, what you don't want to get better at. So it's so important to just be open-minded and give it your best shot whenever you are given an opportunity. Because if somebody gives you an opportunity, it's because they see something in you, and try to see that in yourself as well, and the value that you can bring in different ways. Especially, I know we talk a lot about on the podcast about different backgrounds and different jobs. So you never know what it is that you can offer in this other role that you might have not considered before.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know we chatted a bit before, and you were saying with networking, just finding somebody that can give you a chance, that believes in you, to give you some kind of opportunity so you can explore what you do like.
Exactly. And that usually involves the human side of it, the connection of, hey, this person is cool. This person seems hardworking, or they are hardworking. I've seen it. Because almost all of us, if not all of us, deserve a chance to show off what we can do. But it's about getting somebody who says, hey, show me what you can do. And that happens through networking and making friends.
Yes. So what exactly do you do?
So currently I am doing technical content creation. So I write blog posts that have a technical focus, primarily in the transformation of data. So DBT is a really big hitter out there, right? So I write a lot of topics or blog posts about that just help people understand concepts better. So we'll explain like what project target profile is, so that way people can come and say, oh, that makes me understand it better, and I can then use the product better. And that's been the biggest responsibility that I've had. But as I said, I've had a lot of different opportunities to explore different avenues within the company. So I'm excited to flesh those out as I continue.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that as you were a teacher, there was a lot of new technologies that would be brought into the classroom. Do you think this kind of like helped you in a way with what you're doing right now?
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, especially when the pandemic happened. Already technology, it's everywhere, and the education department is not immune to it. And so every year there's always some hip new tool or new software that they want us to use, and they throw it at us and expect us to learn it, which again, for some people like myself, it was fine. But other people who aren't as tech savvy, there was always a little bit of friction in that. But when the pandemic hit, as you know, the whole world was flipped on its head, and the education department more so than anything, because we went from in-person instruction to at-home remote learning, which, I mean, kindergartners doing at-home remote learning, even middle schoolers, which is what I taught. And I taught music, so it's a very kinesthetic thing and thought like touch, and I would have to go and move their wrists and adjust their fingers, and I have to visually see, because a lot of the things that I'm helping them fix are things that I need to see. I need to be able to see. It's not just sound. I need to see that they're holding their instrument right, that they're using their full length of their bow. And it was very interesting to see how we tried our best to adapt what we needed with technology. And that came in the form of, we tried Google Classroom, I think, first. And then that was a bust, because it was just kind of like last minute, like, hey, it's March and we need to finish out the school year. So overnight they were like, here's this stuff. And it wasn't really well tested, and it was a bit of a hot mess. We were really building that plane while we were flying it. And half the time not doing so hot. The plane was going down and down, but we did our best. And then the second year, or the first full year after the pandemic hit, we moved over to, I think, Schoology it was. So it's an LMS platform. And that was a little bit more robust and allowed us to do some things. And then we also use Zoom. So again, they just threw a bunch of different things at us. I had to learn how to record videos and how to edit videos. I think I used Final Cut Pro and iMovie, and I used all different tools that I had never considered using, and practiced recording myself and redoing it and creating these lessons, video lessons, which is not a skill that I had before. I had the skill of creating lessons and then executing them, but then it's a whole different story when you are in front of a camera and you essentially want it to be kind of perfect. And so I had to find that happy medium between perfect and I don't have a lot of time, and I still need to edit. And then I learned how to do like the in-screen little things where I would have the music for the kids. So I would play the music. So I learned all these cool different techniques, and I learned how to write lesson plans and things that kids could read, like documentation type style, which, by the way, we don't read any of it. So it's a whole thing. We had one of my coworkers, she made a video, instructional video for the kids for their playing test. And at the very end, she said, if you got to the end of this video, then all you have to say is, I love cats. And then like turn in your video saying, I love cats, and you will get a 100. And like, you don't have to do the test. Like, and so I think only 2 of her students did that. The rest of them either A, didn't turn it in, or B, turn in their playing test, which tells you they did not watch or read through all of the instructions. They just don't. So I learned how to do it, but then also, okay, how much effort am I going to put into this if they're not going to read it? There's a lot of that. But yes, to answer your question, the introduction, especially during the pandemic, really prepared me to be a quick learner and to be willing to explore any avenue to make things work and find a solution for the problem in front of you using technology, because that's what we had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So With the data that you work on now, I guess, how would you define data and what data problems are you solving?
So I would define data as something that is a byproduct of something else and that it is capturable, and you can then use that. You can either transform it or whatever you need to do to then gain some sort of insight on it. I think that would be my definition of data. As far as data in my everyday life or at my job, I use data to see what blog posts would be, what's needed out there. What do I need to write about? What are people looking for? And when they're looking for it, what is something that they want to read about, and how the best way to structure that. So that's a big way that we use data, or that I use data. And in my everyday life, I use data. Just my body's constantly giving me data, right? How do I feel? Do I need to drink more water? Do I need to go on a walk? Am I feeling anxious today? Do I need to work out? All these different things. So data is just all around us, and I would say that I use it. I mean, we all use it every day, even though we don't notice it, right? Yeah. Some of us might not consider that this other thing is data, like your body is giving you the data that you need to then listen to. And you could even go as far as tracking it. There's, calorie trackers, there's, habit trackers, there's step trackers, and there's all these trackers that a lot of companies are realizing, hey, this is valuable information that we as people can then use to better ourselves. And I mean, I wear my Apple Watch everywhere, and it's a lot of data, my heartbeat, everything. It's everywhere.
Yeah. I like that. I enjoy those behavioral analytics. So much like how your body's reacting and such. Sleeping, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's uncomfortable to sleep with my Apple Watch, so I tried it a little bit, but it was neat to see, like, oh, you were in REM cycle here, or you woke up here. And I think back, oh yeah, my dog barked and it woke me up. Or I have a little chihuahua, and she likes to get up and walk around. She'll walk on top of you while you're asleep and will wake you up. So it was interesting to see that on my watch or on my phone.
Yeah.
The data that gave. So needless to say, she was placed in the living room for scientific purposes to see if it would change the sleeping patterns. And it did.
I bet. I've seen folks, some of them have rings now that do the sleeping.
Really?
That would be more comfortable, yeah.
Ooh, I should look into that. Okay, yes. Yeah, the rings. The watch is just not comfortable. I sleep on my hand or on my arm, and so I'll wake up with like a square on my face. So not comfortable. Maybe the ring would be better.
I think so, yeah. I've gotten some sleep habits from my phone before, and I thought that was interesting, but it really is just basically like you have not touched this in so many hours, right? So I guess that's some kind of data, of course.
Yeah. I mean, iPhone, I would say, or Apple, or just phones in general are really killing it with that. The whole behavior analytics, when they help you realize that you scroll too much on your phone. You see, oh, I was on my phone for 8 hours. Yikes. Or I was on Facebook or TikTok. I had to delete TikTok because it was, I mean, I don't know. I just would not stop scrolling. I would scroll for hours, and it's not something that I wanted to do, but it just happened. So I ended up deleting the app because I couldn't handle it. That was my solution to that. I don't have cookies in the house because I can't handle, I can't have TikTok on my phone. Yeah. And I saw a drastic decline in my hours of screen time.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I know there's apps out there that limits usage, right? Where it just shuts apps completely down.
I tried that.
It didn't work?
It didn't work for me. And it was to the point where I said, okay, it's my husband. I said, you have the passcode and I don't know the passcode. But then I would be like, please. And then he would cave. So this doesn't work.
Oh.
Yeah. He's like, you asked me so nicely. I can't tell you no. So decided to delete, which again, I haven't really missed it. That was one of the things where I said, if I miss it, then I'll figure it out. But you could fulfill your life with other things.
That's true.
Plenty of things to do. Not enough hours a day.
which reminds me about your background in music. So I would like to transition into some formal fun bits.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I would like a second origin story into how you got to where you were in that field and how that relates to you being a data professional. Because I know we talked a little bit about different instruments and how they produce their own data as well.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Well, as far as my background, when I was younger, I've always loved music. It's always been something that I've been passionate about. And I think I started off in band, and I think I was playing the euphonium, which is it's a rather large instrument, second largest. I think that it's right underneath the tuba, right?
Okay.
But I was the scrawny 70, 80 pound middle schooler. I walked home and I wanted to practice. I wanted to play. And so I would carry this ginormous case that was almost the same size as me on my walk home every day. And it just wasn't feasible. So already I was unhappy. And I told my band director, give me a smaller instrument. But I was good at the instrument because I liked it. And like I liked playing and I wanted to practice. And he said, no, you're really good. Like we should just move you up to the advanced band. And I was like, no, I really don't want to. And then I got braces. And I said, okay, I don't want to play on this brass instrument. I want to play a woodwind instrument that'll be easier and nicer to me. Because when you're playing a brass instrument, you have it's on your lips. And so when it's buzzing, I don't know, it sucks. It's doable, but it sucks. And so I said, you know what? My friend said, hey, I'm in orchestra. I play the violin. Look how small my instrument is. And they said, oh, wow, it is so small. Like, yeah, just come join me. So I went to the counselor. I said, change my schedule, and which I don't think they even do now anywhere. Like, you have to get your parents involved now. But for some reason, for me, I guess I was persuasive enough that they said, yeah, we'll switch you. So they switched me, and I went straight to the orchestra room, and I said, give me the smallest instrument you have. And that's how I ended up playing the violin, which in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have played the cello, which is a larger instrument, but that's just how I ended up on the violin. There's people when you ask them, oh, you play the violin? How'd you do this? And they have all these great stories about how much they love the violin or what they saw and how inspired they were. That's not the case for me. I just love music, and I ended up playing an instrument. And from there, it blossomed. And as I went into high school, I did learn how to play the cello because all of our cello players graduated. And so my orchestra director said, hey, we need cello players. Do you want to switch? So I did. And within like a couple of months, I was playing better than, the other cellos that we had. We had like one or two other cellos and like in the lower groups. So that's when I started to really realize, and I started to help them get better and give them feedback and help. And that's when I realized, oh, I have an affinity for this and I like helping others, learn, and I'm good at that as well. So that's kind of what sparked this idea of I'm going to be a music director or music educator. So I applied and I got in, and the rest, as I progressed through my career or my undergrad, I really found that I enjoyed it and that I loved it. And once I graduated, I immediately got a job. And when you're working as a teacher, there's data everywhere. It's all about data. It's all about the numbers. Sadly, it's all about the numbers. It's all about funding. It's all about keeping your program alive. So that we're told you are the advocate for your program. If you don't do what you need to do and your program closes down or suffers, it's directly your fault, essentially, right? So that leads us to do a lot of tracking of numbers, of how many people we have on each instrument, how many people we have on each in each grade level. And once you have, I think I had it all in an Excel sheet. So I would be able to see every year, oh, my orchestra program is really bottom heavy, meaning I have a whole lot of sixth graders, but I don't have the retention because I have less seventh and eighth graders. Or in my case, especially leading up to the pandemic or after the pandemic, I was really top heavy where I had the retention. The kids, they wanted to stay in my program. They were staying in my program, but we were having a drastic decrease in the numbers of incoming sixth graders. And that was for many reasons. The pandemic being one, there's a lot of options for students. There's a lot of electives, and sadly, there's a little bit of a fight for students. We want, hey, come join this, come join that. And when it comes to, and the other thing is there's a lot of a push to get the things that were once in high school and trickle them down into middle school to get kids to graduate earlier or to get college hours, which, is a positive. But if you really think about it, so a lot of people don't realize the negative impact that it has. That now these kids, instead of having that one fun, creative thing, they're forced to choose between, should I do an extra math class or should I do this advanced math class or should I do this language so that way I can then, not have to do it in high school. That way I could graduate early but get to leave school early because they have like this thing where if they do all their hours, they can leave early to go work, which to me, again, I'm biased. I'm very biased. To me, I think that the creativity and there's science behind it, that music is powerful and in the development of a child. So the science is there. So to me, it's important to give the child that opportunity to be in something creative that's going to make them a well-rounded student or well-rounded person in another way that maybe a math or a science can't. So that was like the fight. We had to fight, and we would have to fight for our programs and fight for that, for that, hey, kids deserve this. They should, and they shouldn't have to pick. And it won't be all about academics or graduating because, I don't know. I don't know how it's a controversial topic, I would say.
Yeah. I resonated with the fact that you so easily transitioned from one instrument to the other, right? Because of these transferable skills, right? When you learn when you learn how to read music, when you learn how to hold any instrument, you have that poise, right? So you can transfer that knowledge into a different instrument, much like with data. So if you learn one programming language, right, it's a lot easier to apply those same or similar skills to then learn a new language.
Absolutely. And there's instruments that are obviously different, just like there's programming language that are maybe on the other side of the spectrum, but you can kind of do the steps in between, or you already have the skills. I've already learned how to do this once. I can learn how to do it again. Very similar, same thing. You can learn a different instrument.
Yeah. So I think it's a mix between folks knowing that once you learn something, you can kind of move all about and learn other things that you're interested in fairly easy if you put in the work.
Yes.
Right. And then the other side of it is learning new things, right? That might be something that's even a little bit more intimidating. So when you're trying to learn new things, what are your go-to resources?
Just before we go to that topic, I would like to also say that with learning an instrument, you learn all the patterns, right?
Yeah.
It's all the patterns. It's the same thing in data coding. You find the patterns. You can identify these patterns quickly. Your brain is quicker at making those, contacts or recognition. So.
Ooh, so then how does that relate to being a data analyst? Because data analysts are really good at picking up patterns too, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I really feel that my background as a musician has made me a better technical person, engineer, because I am really good at picking up patterns and, I see, this is what they want me to learn. This is how I should practice it, because I'm so used to picking apart music and say, this is the skill that I need to learn. And I know how to practice it in isolation. And it's just like the good practicing skills that you learn in your journey to become a musician or in a musician's journey, that whole practicing aspect, you can easily transfer it to learning data, engineering, learning programming, anything, because you can say, I'm going to practice this one little concept, and you're just really good at finding what the concepts are, finding the patterns, and then practicing them.
Yeah. And you're disciplined, you're determined to do something because you have a passion for it. So you're like, I'm going to learn this.
And to go deeper with this, music is great in the same way that programming is we're living in a society of instant gratification. Everything is, one quick video up. Like the dopamine is real and we're bombarded with it, right? But when you're doing something like learning an instrument, it's not instant. You're going to suck for a long time. Like it sounds terrible. I have a lot of patience for bad sounding players because I teach them from square one. And then it's so great to see them when they leave in 8th grade and they're sounding great and they're going to contribute to their high school. But it's still, it's not quick. It's not instant. You have to put in the work. You have to practice. And I tell my students, practicing is not fun. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, playing is fun. Playing your instrument, playing a song, a hoot. But practicing sucks because you have to, it's tedious, it's meticulous, it has to be intentional, it's not instant. But once you get something, the dopamine that you get from that or the satisfaction you get from that is just so much more because you're like, yeah, I worked for that. So that's to go deeper. Same thing with coding. You have to work for it. You're going to suck for a long time. If you show up every day, you're going to get better and you're going to have so much more satisfaction out of this skill that didn't come easy, that wasn't instant, that wasn't built in a day. And you'll see your end product and be like, man, I'm proud of that. And I feel good because of that. So a lot of similarities there.
I love that. Yes. I love that so much.
Yeah. So now we could go into the
Okay. So loop back to learning the new things. What are your go-to resources when you're trying to learn new things?
When I'm trying to learn new things, it really depends. I'm also really interested in languages. Like I studied Japanese when I was in middle school and high school. Like I was in the foreign language program, and I stopped once I graduated. But recently I've been saying, I want to learn more Japanese. I also speak Spanish. And so I want to learn Portuguese because they're really closely linked. And I find that for both of these scenarios, podcasts, there's so many great podcasts out there. For Spanish, there's one, or for Portuguese, I'm sorry. There's one that is specifically geared towards Spanish speakers trying to learn Portuguese. It's Falado. I'm terrible with names. I have it on my phone, so I just go and click it, right? But it's great because it'll have you listen to the Portuguese phrase or like snippet, and you don't understand any of it at the beginning, but then they go through and they piece like, here's how it's like Spanish and here's how it isn't. And they have like practices so you can listen and like say it yourself. And then at the end, when they replay that clip, it's like your brain has been decoded or something and you can understand what they're saying and linking the Spanish and the Portuguese together, not just by memory. It's just, I see the connection now and I can understand it. So that was a really cool one. Podcast. For Japanese, there's one also that just does little daily conversations where he repeats words. I'm not as good as at that one because I don't have any strong link, like with coding, I don't have anything that's immediately next to it. It's a little bit further away on the spectrum, but it's still good to listen. Books, YouTube videos, Udemy is great, but I would read the reviews and make sure it has a lot of good reviews before you purchase anything and wait for the sales. Always, always, always wait for the Udemy sales.
Yes. They're always on sale, by the way, if you open it up in an incognito tab. At least from my experience.
Are you serious? Okay. That's good to know because
I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying I've noticed that from my experience.
I'm going to go check after this because if that's the case, then I don't have to wait. I mean, I think they go on sale every 2 weeks or something.
It is. So the longest I think you'll wait is like 2 weeks to get.
Which is what I was doing. But if this whole incognito thing works, I have too many Udemy courses that I bought. I need to not buy anymore. But that's my big one. Udemy, Data Camp. It's important to find tools that are out there that are actually good and that work well. So doing research, going on Reddit and saying, hey, I'm trying to learn this thing. You'll get so many good recommendations, honest recommendations. So I know Data Camp is one of them for me. Udemy, YouTube, and podcasts. Books are also great, but I know that's a little bit slower. I like the others because you can kind of listen to them while you're doing dishes or something. So podcasts and YouTube videos are top tier. But if you have time to sit down, Data Camp and Udemy are great.
Yeah. Another tip about the reviews that I always do is go off of the platform. So don't necessarily read Udemy reviews on Udemy. Go to an outside source and you'll most likely find more real reviews that way. So are there any other final words of recommendation or encouragements that you have for the listeners?
Absolutely. I think that if you are trying to get into tech, I know that's the hot thing, right? Make sure that it's what you want to do. Make sure you do a lot of research. And also don't fall into the trap of it's going to be easy. I'm just going to do this boot camp and I'm going to have a job and it's going to be great. That's not the case. You're going to have to do a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of networking, a lot of learning. But it is worth it if you are really interested in it. Keep showing up every single day. That's the biggest thing. And the quote is something along the lines of, luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. So just make sure, again, I'm paraphrasing the quote, I'm pretty sure, but it's important to just work hard and prepare. So that way, when somebody comes to you with an opportunity, you're ready. There's no such thing as luck. You don't get lucky. You have to work hard, and somebody will say, hey, look at this person who's ready. I'm gonna give them a shot. So that's the biggest advice that I have. Show up every day, work hard, try your best to be prepared as possible, and network.
All very great takeaways. Well, thank you so much, Mayra, for coming on the show. It was a pleasure speaking with you and learning all of your knowledge. If any of the listeners have any questions for you, where can they find and or follow you?
I am readily available on LinkedIn. I think right now it's under Mayra Peña, and it has the little squiggly above the N, so you might have to add that. Hopefully soon I'll be changing it to Mayra Almanza. Again, I'm in the process of changing my name legally, and that's been a thing because I got married. So, but LinkedIn is the main place that you can find me.
I'll provide a link in the show notes so that you can easily find her LinkedIn. Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing the episode and watching more of your future episodes.
Thank you so much. And as always, folks, happy learning.